Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in on a Sunday evening. It's Sunday afternoon. It's definitely not the best time to conduct a webinar.
Mm,
But here we are, and today we'll be discussing how to secure your cloud infrastructure, right? And we have here Harshil Arora, who is security engineer at Decentro. But interestingly, I found out is he has a graduate degree with specialization in cybersecurity. That is a rare specialization that we see, especially in India. And since then, he
mm,
has been working as developer to analyst in Capgemini to a lot of security roles. Uh, in product companies like Accord, Decentro,
mm,
in fact in ANB Global as well, right, where he was a senior associate at information security. So we can definitely believe that he has experience in all things product security, cloud security, and application security. So I'd love to welcome Harshil here. Thank you for joining, Harshil. And over to you now.
Definitely happy to have been here. And definitely, like you mentioned, I might have a little lesser experience in numbers, but definitely working in multiple companies, whatever I've gathered, I'd like to share with everyone present here. Let's begin. I hope Kathan is visible.
Correct. Your screen is visible. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's begin. So the topic for today, with what I have chosen, is cloud infrastructure, security in cloud infrastructure, and definitely scaling as everybody scales, and every company is been shifting to from traditional on-prem like servers to cloud. So definitely, cloud is a very important aspect in the growing world, especially in India. So let's run through the PPT first, and then we'll discuss a small case study. So, firstly, starting off with what cloud infrastructure really is. So, it's just a collection of virtualized computing resources, which are provided by multiple companies like Azure or AWS. It just provides us the feature of computing any kind of data in an online manner, and we do not have to maintain any on-prem servers or storage devices for networking. So, it's very useful that in scaling. So it is a shared responsibility between the provider, which can be Amazon's web servers or Azure. So it's a combined responsibility between the provider and the consumer as a company to to enable any kind of configurations or make any kind of changes into their cloud. But as cloud is publicly available, we also need to ensure every kind of security measures are accommodated to it. So cloud is basically of three types: public, private, and hybrid, as might the name signify to you. Public is something which is available to everybody. There is not much restrictions which are put on public clouds. It is usable by almost anybody, so it offers a lot of scalability and cost effectiveness because not much of dedicated configurations are made. On the contrary, private clouds give the company much more control over their data servers or storage services, whatever they are using. And before that, even whenever we are moving towards cloud, so a secure architecture definitely plays an important role because we have to identify what are the critical assets and how do we categorize them. And definitely, we can choose the best possible way out of moving to the cloud. And hybrid serves as the best possible way here because it's a combination of public and private. So we can have our critical assets which do not require to be accessed by public. We can have it in the private cloud, and certainly the public accessible data like the website of the company or any kind, we can store it on the public cloud. So this way, hybrid will give us the facilities of both public and private in a single manner. So definitely, when we are moving from traditional on-prem services to cloud, it becomes very important to cater to security because when it's on-prem, everything is under our control. But definitely, when we are moving to cloud, a lot of things are managed by the provider also. So securing the data in the cloud is a lot more difficult, and definitely since the attack vector has increased, so there is a lot more frequency of data breaches. And since it's shared on common servers, so definitely regulatory requirements also come into picture. And being into fintech, it's very painful, like going through all kinds of regulatory requirements. And if they're not satisfied, then we do not proceed with any kind of chat. The challenges, maybe the first and foremost is encryption. So firstly, we need to ensure that whatever data we are storing or in transit, it should be encrypted with whatever standards the company is following. So as per today, AES 256 or like it serves really good with data at rest and in transit both. So we can do that. Apart from that, even following the best practices related to configurations or following any kind of baseline hardening related to maybe CIS benchmarks or any other benchmarks which are provided. So it also serves a lot in solving that. And definitely the third part is solving IAM, which is identity and access management. So if we are able to manage access of our resources and limit the access, like the zero trust security model, so it helps a lot in securing our cloud. So moving on to IAM specifically. So IAM is identity and access management. So it will just ensure what kind of access we want to share with our users. So it comprises of the critical assets, non-critical assets. Firstly, we categorize that, and then maybe on the basis of user role, the users are able to access the resources, whatever they are authorized to. So the two parts of it are firstly authentication and then comes authorization. So first part, once the user is has authenticated himself or herself, then the second part comes into picture that what authorized resources can the user access. So definitely we need to have a proper IAM solution for this. It can be an in-house solution or like many of the companies provide IAM solutions also. So it can be privilege access management, for example, for admin users. So we need to and like have logs of whatever the user activity has been performed or even restrict some kind of usage apart from the super admin. So definitely categorizing different user roles and sharing access on basis of those user roles definitely helps us in having a good IAM in our cloud. So the key components for IAM are multi-factor authentication, which is definitely the first step, and coming and then the role-based access, like we discussed about user roles, and based on those roles, we can move forward with the access. Taking a generic example of a company where the developers have access to the code repositories which are on the cloud, and then there are the customers who access the dashboards which the company provides. So we need to categorize the users specifically based on their roles, like the developers or the admins or the customers. And once these roles are defined, then all kinds of authorizations can be shared on that group so that no mismatch is there between the role and the authorized resources. And if we are using third-party solutions for IAM, then definitely that would enhance the security because they totally focus on the IAM of the cloud. So it solves a lot. So challenges for cloud, like for security in cloud, definitely is that cloud scales as per the need. So scaling security along with the scaling business, it's a very big challenge. So we need to ensure that whatever security configurations we are making to our cloud, be it encryption, be it IAM, or be it any kind of MFA. So we need to ensure that as the company scales and the cloud scales, we would not be in any position to maybe shut down any kind of service, and we should be continuing with all the features we have for security. And definitely, as we scale, regulatory compliance also comes into picture. For example, RBI has a thing about data localization, so we need to ensure that whatever data we are storing Indian region. So as we scale, we cannot just move to other regions for our data storage capabilities. We need to ensure that all the data and all the transactions which happen to our dashboard, they are from the Indian region itself. So this is one sort of regulatory compliance. There are other regulatory compliances as well, maybe ISO or CISA or HIPAA, whatever the company is liable to authorize, like for compliance, we need to ensure that. And definitely, when the cloud scales in a dynamic manner, so we need to ensure that the security measures also adapt to that scalability and there is not much workload on our balances. Considerations can be whatever the company is liable for the protection regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI DSS, which is very common in India because majority of the payments company process the credit card related data. So definitely PCI DSS is a very important consideration we need to make for such regulations. And to address all the challenges which we discussed related to cloud security and cloud scaling, we need to make sure that the security controls we have put are very robust and they scale with time to time. So let's take an example of a XYZ company. So XYZ is a very big company which operates in finance for now, and it faced challenges while in securing the cloud while scaling. So the challenges were three. First was scalability, like we discussed. So when we maintain a hybrid sort of cloud environment, so since there are multiple environments to be secured and multiple services which are integrated to each other, it becomes a little difficult to scale and manage security at the same time. Second point being data protection. So definitely all kinds of regulations which we have in place as per the company's position in the market. So those are very important. So industry regulations compliance is very important, like GDPR, HIPAA, ISO, which is very common, or the CISA or data localization. Access control similar to being IAM. So the solutions which a company can incorporate in their scaling journey is first being secure. Architecture design should be very secure, which comes even before starting off with cloud. So if the architecture which the company has made to move forward in cloud and scale, so that should be in a secure manner and definitely should include all kinds of flows for data, all kinds of storage, wherever the storage would be there, and what all networks will be included, what all load balancers are there. So that network segmentation and design is very important, and we need to ensure that no irrelevant data is being flown, and if there is the movement of data or even data at rest, it is encrypted. So those can be incorporated in the architecture phase itself before even starting off with cloud. Second point definitely being data encryption. So both data at rest and data in transit, they solve a lot, maybe about 30% or 40% of attacks go null because data is encrypted. So a little hard to figure out with keys and then decrypt the data. And third part being IAM, like we're discussing again and again related to cloud, IAM is very important. We have to define roles and give user only the access to resources which it needs and enforce zero trust. So the results for incorporating the three discussed points, but definitely the security posture is increased and a lot more improved because we have incorporated security early in the life cycle. So since being secured architecturally, the security posture definitely improves. Regulatory compliance, any company can achieve good compliance status and be compliant all year round. So definitely we cannot compare compliance with actual security, but still compliance will provide base level security to our cloud. So the two lessons which we can take out from the case study is the collaboration. So it's very important for all the teams in the company to be security focused, be it IT, be it the dedicated security and compliance team, or just the developer team. All needs to be on the same page related to security and understand the critical nature of cloud and any kind of resources we are using online. So effective usage is definitely one, and the team should be collaborative to approach security. And continuous improvement is definitely a gradual process which any companies achieve on a regular basis, regular scans, regular patches. So those help in continuous improvement of our security posture. Key takeaways where we can have is organizations overcome cloud security challenges just by adopting security early in the life cycle and just using best practices or having a baseline document for configurations so that none of the security requirements are overlooked. So we can also DevSecOps, like we were discussing about having security early in the life cycle. So DevSecOps is one thing in cloud which we can incorporate. DevSecOps is a practice which is usually for software security in the life cycle, SDLC, which what we call software development lifecycle. There, DevSecOps plays a very important role. But the main motive of DevSecOps is having security early in the lifecycle, which will ensure that right from the beginning of planning phase, security is a part of the planning also. So definitely it improves our security posture a lot. So that can also be implemented. That strategy can also be implemented in our cloud. So whenever we are planning out on our movement to cloud, or maybe scaling to more resources, more storage capabilities, or more servers, definitely we need to think of the security aspects right from the beginning, so that the configurations are in place, and all kinds of models, with what we know of zero trust model, or just beginning with limited access to resources. So that should be from the beginning, and collaboration between the teams, as we discussed. So all teams should be on the same page related to security. For example, if we are enforcing VPN in our organization, so all should know about the use case of that, and definitely not try to fidget with the configurations. So DevSecOps will also enable organization for software development, but also towards cloud. So DevSecOps has three major points. Definitely, like we discussed about the shift left security. So it will help us identifying security vulnerabilities in the development process itself. For example, we are using some kind of Docker containers, or uh, for deployment in the cloud. So if we are able to scan and find out security vulnerabilities early, so it will help us in mitigating those very early in the life cycle. So it wouldn't be very late for us to solve them. Automation is a very important aspect of DevSecOps. So say we can have a workflow which starts right from the beginning, related to how the developers have utilized the cloud. Right from there, we can automate every process for once the approval is sanctioned. So then we can have all the security testing and compliance checks. If there is any kind of security vulnerability which is found, definitely the workflow doesn't proceed. So we can have that kind of automation, and it will solve a lot for us, because it will like lessen the man hours and improve the security. And continuous monitoring is one thing which the SOC team handles, but it's also an important part. We can have very different services. For example, AWS provides inspector, guard duty. So we can enforce these kinds of services into our cloud for real-time monitoring and even alert detection. So in case there is any alert, we can promptly act on it and take the threat seriously. So by adopting DevSecOps, it will enhance our security posture, and whatever cloud native applications we are using, they become very much secure. And it also reduces our time to market. And when we are ready with our product, we can just go live with it. So conclusion related to cloud infrastructure security is definitely that as we move more and more towards cloud, and so it's very important to increase the security posture and take into consideration multiple open points which the cloud have. And we can definitely have best practices related to architecture design, like the first step, data encryption, and the IAM controls. And this will definitely help in increasing the security posture of our cloud environment. Definitely, we need to have in place the challenges. We need to cater to that. And like we discussed about the collaboration between stakeholders and all the teams in the company, and being on the same page related to security and understanding the need and importance for it. That is very important. The developers need to understand if we are protecting an critical asset on our cloud and maybe putting it behind VPN. The developers should understand that and not just cater to the business. Yep. So, taking example of multiple companies I work for, so uh, a lot of companies are definitely for all companies, business is a priority, but we also need to align security needs with the business needs. So we do not cater to any uh, non-practical requirements which the business team has. So we need to cater to that. That if the business team comes with a requirement, all the teams need to sit together and work on the requirements. So, okay. So, talking about user management, firstly, if a company doesn't have roles defined for all the users, take into consideration a company wherein there are three or four user roles, a generic developer, an IT person with a more access to cloud for security configurations or any kind of configurations. The third being the end user, definitely using the public aspect of our cloud, and one super admin. So if the segregation between the user roles and the user groups is not defined, we cannot cater to everybody's need of access to resources. There can be a possibility that if the developers are not put in the right role, and we have just one developer, say Akash. So if Akash is a developer and we individually provide him with resource access, so there is a possibility that we miss out on some of the critical resources which are shared with. So we need to cater to groups specifically and have IAM in place. So it will ensure that only specified user groups are accessing our internal resources. So in case, for taking an example of Akash, who is a developer, but still the access to a critical resource was shared to him, being an insider threat, he might just make a payout transaction to extract money from the bank account and transfer to his own personal bank account. So we need to understand the use cases and the business requirements of any kind of access we are sharing with the users. So segregating the user roles and then giving the authorized access to the user roles and not individual users, that solves for us. How was my figure? Okay, so if the company is a small scale startup, definitely starting off first with the proper configurations is a good way to start. And definitely, if we begin the user journey right from start, the first step is definitely user authentication. So we can have the user authentication securely in place, maybe have right types of password policies in place, and then incorporating MFA definitely. Second part comes authorizations. So segregating the users based on their requirements. This is something definitely a small scale startup can also incorporate, and we can also have a baseline hardening document which lists down all the basic security configurations which any kind of new resource will contain. So this will solve a lot for the small scale startup company, but more or less the journey of user is similar for a small scale startup company or a big scale MNC. So since the user journey is similar, the security configurations are more or less similar itself. And talking about Mayank's question related to what kind of issues one can encounter. So if user roles are not definitely defined, it comes to a point wherein uh, this a normal user can also edit or make changes to any kind of resources which are critical in nature. Like I took the example of payouts where anybody was able to make a transaction from a customer bank account to his own personal bank account. So that's something shouldn't be the case.